Do you ever feel worn out by the end of the day? Do you ever feel like it's hard to juggle and find the balance? I was recently asked a very good series of questions that I would like to try today, all surrounding how do you find balance? Hi, I'm Kenna, and I help parents inspire an environment of learning in their home. I'm glad you're here. So when I start the discussion about balance, I just want to be clear that this is something I think about a lot and I seek for. But I don't know if balance is a place where we settle, that we find and then we just stay there. I think it's something that's always fluctuating and we're always trying to figure out. And for me, I almost feel like I'm just trying to, pass through the scales of balance often enough that I am balanced, but I'm always tweaking it. And if I feel out of balance, then I know that it's time for a shift. And I'm shifting all the time. I'm shifting all the time to try to find that balance. So just to say that in preface, I also want to share that there's only so much a person can do. And I am a firm believer that we don't have to do it all today. As in, moments of a life equal a life, but you don't have to do them all in the same moment. I remember a year of homeschooling when our learning time consisted of lessons, reading lessons. I had a couple of children who were struggling with reading. They had some learning difficulties, I guess you would say, learning how to read. No big deal. We had to spend more time with them though to really get them to understand reading. So it took a lot of my time. And I remember that in that season, I would do reading lessons, just one-on-one, all day long. Now that was that season, and I certainly didn't do that. And we would have fun breaks where we just did fun learning things, where it was a break from the regular routine, and we would do fun camps on certain subjects so that we could, not get stuck in that routine. But that certainly was only in balance for a certain season. I couldn't stay in that balance forever. I needed to move on to another balance. But in that moment, it was the right balance because that's what my kids needed at that moment. And I knew that it wasn't the only moment I would have with them, that we could still do other things and move on to other things. But that was top priority at that time, and that's what we focused on then. So that's one thing I want you to remember when you're seeking balance in your life, is that life is full of moments, and seasons of life add up to a life, and that not everything has to be done today. And on that same vein, even in a smaller scale, I don't know if it helps you, but sometimes it helps me to think of it in a week. What do I need to get done this week? If, for example, it's the reading lessons and they're taking all day, what if you did one reading lesson a day with one child, another day another child, and you did, reading lessons every other day with a particular child, but you did reading lessons every day with a child, but it's switched off which one, if that makes sense. I mean, sometimes just spreading out the things we need to do within a week and what we feel good getting done within a week, maybe we can spread it out over the week, let go of some things, and make our days more pleasant to be in, to find that balance so that we're not exhausted by the end of the day. I think really defining the most important thing in this season of life helps me when I go throughout my days to feel accomplished. Defining the most important, and then make sure those most important happen. And then if other things happen, then great. But you can feel that sense of accomplishment if the most important thing is done right now. And sometimes that will be the skills acquisitions, the things like learning to read, or the really working on multiplication, or getting a solid foundation in some area of skills so that they can build on it with other things. And sometimes that might be heart-based things where you need to focus really specifically on the relationship, or building the character of a child, right? And maybe that's the focus. And maybe there's other things to do, but if you get that most important thing, if you define what that most important thing is for each child and make sure that thing happens throughout the week, then you can feel accomplishment even if your to-do list is longer than you can possibly do in a day. Consistent, bite-sized moments add up. Now, for independent learners, I have found that this is a really useful question. If I ask my more independent learners in the morning, what do you hope to accomplish today? Then I get a little insight into their mind and heart and what matters to them. Then I can start to see when they answer that question what they'll need my help with and what I just need to check back in with them later to make sure it's done, right? How can I support those goals of theirs? What is it that you want to accomplish most today? And then I let their answers guide my morning to decide what I need to focus on in the learning time. And then, of course, a follow-up is important. If they are independent learners and they're doing a lot on their own, then a follow-up in the afternoon when you gather again for lunch, or just even a nightly interview at night, can be a time when you check in and see if they accomplished those things that they were hoping to accomplish that day. And if they didn't, you can problem solve and you can figure out how to make it work better, or what they need from you, or what support that they need from you to get that done. That question, the what would you like to accomplish today, just is a way for me to know what's on their mind and heart and to get a little gauge on what I can do to better help and support them. If there are things that are important to you that your independent learner does, then those are also things, if you have their buy-in, that you can also encourage them to do that day, remind them to do that day, and then later just check in with them. If you have their buy-in, they're more likely, of course, to do it when you're not looking, right? So, but that's also a time after I ask them what they would like to accomplish that I can remind them of things that might be good to fill their time with learning time, or ask if they would like ideas of how to accomplish a goal that I think would be worthwhile for them to spend their time on that day. So those questions, those very quick check-ins can be really helpful for directing the independent learners while I help the ones that aren't quite so independent yet, so that I know that they're off doing their things that they need and that I am aware of what I need to help them with, and I can schedule that in and make sure that I take a moment for those things as well. Now also, when we're talking about balance, we're not just talking about learning time, are we? We're talking about taking care of our home and ourselves and our husbands and the other children, and making time for all the important things in our life, including friends and extended family, right? There's other things in our life that need a place as well. And how do we find balance with that? One simple thing I do is just that I like to do a block schedule where most often my mornings are for my kids. And then most often, the early afternoons are for outside lessons, although the COVID year has taught me that we don't need nearly as many as we used to, so we only have a couple evenings away now, which I actually really love. And then I have a little bit of time between the afternoon outside of the home things and making dinner and doing things for my family again things. I have at least an hour every day that is what I consider my time to get the things done that are most on my heart. And in this case, I schedule time, not content, because it might be that I'm doing things for you. I might be making a YouTube video during this time. I might be reading something that's been on my heart that I want to learn more about. It might be that I'm paying the bills, that I'm doing something that is necessary, but whatever is on my heart at that time. And it's okay if what is on your heart at that time is that you need to put up your feet and just have some quiet music going and have a little rest. That's totally appropriate and totally, absolutely wonderful for a schedule, because the periods of renewal that we take for ourselves are actually a gift to everybody else that we interact with, because we come back and we are our better self, if we incorporate periods of renewal in our life. So make sure when you're seeking balance for everybody else, also make sure that you're including times for renewal in your life. What do you need to do to recharge and be able to feel like you can give your best self to the ones in your life? Make that a priority. make time for that thing, because it will make everything else go better. It is a gift to the people in our life if we take care of ourselves. So in answer to the question, how do you balance it all and give them all enough? I would say, if I feel that I'm out of balance, then I shift a little in the schedule until I find a balance that feels right for this season. When I feel like I'm not enough, then I seek inspiration to try to figure out the most important things. And if I get those most important things done, then I need to count it as enough. There is no way one person can carry everything all the time. So you have to pick. What is the most important thing for me to carry, for me to support, for me to do in this day, in this week, in this season? And then you need to count that as enough. Count that enough, knowing that this season is only one season in the whole course of their life and that it will work out. Seek inspiration to know what is most important. When I feel like I'm not enough, I seek inspiration for what is most important, and I let go of the expectations that are outside of that realm. Because let's face it, we all get worn out sometimes. This is a lot that we are doing. We are doing a lot. We have a lot of responsibilities. We have a lot of people counting on us. And it can be tiring. And it can feel like we're not enough sometimes, right? I know I get that way. I feel sometimes that I am not doing enough, that my balance is off. Well, if your balance is off, make a shift. If you feel like you're not enough, seek out inspiration to know what is most important. Make sure you have times of renewal in your life so that when you are giving that time to the other people in your life, that you are giving them the best version of you that you can give. And share the load. Let your learners carry some of the responsibility for their learning as well. I know that that's especially as they get older, but planting the seeds of that while they're young and allowing them to own and find the responsibility for their own education is a way that you don't have to carry it all, that you don't have to be enough by yourself, because it's their responsibility too. So infusing that into them and helping them understand that that really is theirs, that they get to own their education, that they get to own the effort, that it is not all on your shoulders, mama, if they are successful or not. You share that with the learner. The mentor and the learner both have a role. And so defining what is yours and what belongs to them might also be helpful when you're thinking about balance and being enough and feeling worn out by the end of the day. You've got this. You do. You have it in you. You know enough. You're amazing. And that doesn't mean that you won't feel overwhelmed at times or worn out, or that you need to find that balance. That's part of life. You'll find it. I know you will. I hope something I have said today has helped you in this journey and with that question. Here's to you, intentional mama. You've got this.